gotta show you guys something real quick.
Have you guys ever just thought, what if Louis Vuitton made oil filters?
I know what you're thinking. What the hell are you talking about? This is the stupidest thing ever. Like, shut up, dude. But this is seriously the Louis Vuitton of oil filters.
What kind of oil filter comes in a like nicely packaged box that is a slide open design, oil filter inside, completely sealed, and there's a drain plug gasket in there. Beautiful. That is seriously the most bougie packaging I've ever seen for an oil filter. This is the RCM, or Roger Clark Motorsports race oil filter. And this is Motul 5W50 Sport Ester Blend oil. So if you can't tell already, we're changing the oil on this thing.
I have never run the Roger Clark Motorsports or RCM oil filters before. They're supposed to be a race oil filter. Apparently they have a shorter lifespan than a regular oil filter, but apparently they're better. I don't know the science behind it, but I know Colin's a smart guy, and Colin told me to put it on my car, and he also supplied the filter for me. So if you guys are local to the Edmonton area, or even just in Alberta, Canada at all, and you have a Subaru and you're looking for a place to fix your Subaru that you don't know how to fix, or you're looking for a place to build your Subaru, or just help you build your Subaru, anything about your Subaru or anything about your JDM cars that you have, go see Ronin Performance. They supplied me this super expensive RCM oil filter for today. They have been a big supporter of the channel pretty much since the beginning, and we are going to be racing for Ronin Racing this summer. So I will put a link to the Ronin Performance website down in the description box down below, and I will also put a link to their Instagram so you guys can DM them with any Subaru questions or anything like that that you have about building your car. I will also have my Instagram linked in the description. You guys can reach out to me if you guys have any questions or anything like that too. I will reply on Instagram, but I am usually faster to reply to YouTube comments than I am to Instagram DMs. So if you got a question, comment it first. So now that all that's out of the way, what is up, you guys, and welcome back to the channel. I'm freaking excited because we're gonna finish the Subaru today.
I actually remembered to bring home my coolant funnel. If you guys didn't catch the last video, I couldn't bleed my cooling system because I didn't have my funnel here. So today we can actually do that. And then the last other thing we got is some Torque Solutions 6AN fuel line and a whole bunch of fittings, like quick connect fittings, 90-degree AN fittings, and all that fun stuff. So the reason we are changing the fuel lines in this car is
because you guys commented on the videos and said you don't like my fuel setup and the way my fuel lines are routed. If I'm being totally honest, I actually don't like it either, but it works. And I like to go by a saying that goes a little something like, don't fix what's not broken. But today we're going against that a little bit.
This radium fuel plumbing setup, in case you guys are not aware already, or you haven't seen my install video on it, I'll put a link on the top of the screen to that, but I'll give you a quick breakdown. This radium fuel system uses the factory hard lines. This upper black line here is your feed line. The lower gray line down there is your return. And this blue line is just your evap line, which I have venting to atmosphere because I live in Alberta
and our province doesn't give a shit about emissions, so it's fine.
The feed line goes from that black hard line to my radium gauge, quick connect fitting to a 5/8 hose, and its hose clamp to the inlet to the fuel pressure regulator. Then the fuel pressure regulator has two outlets. Each outlet feeds the back of each fuel rail individually, so parallel system. One outlet from the regulator for each rail.
And I know what you guys are gonna say. Oh, Daniel, the regulator is supposed to be on the return side of the system. I know, boys. I didn't choose to install it this way. That's what Radium said to do, so I did it and it worked. And this is why it works. And this is also what I don't understand, like, at all.
This radium kit has dead end caps at the end of each rail. So you have the inlet on the back side of the rail, dead end cap on the front side of the rail, which makes for a very clean install. These kits have the minimal amount of fuel lines you need in an engine bay. There's no ugly lines running along the front. There's just block off caps on both sides. But here is where it gets confusing. This regulator still has a return line, which comes off the back of the regulator back to the gray line that goes back to the gas tank. How in the physics are you trying to tell me that it feeds into the regulator, feeds to the rails, and returns out of the regulator with no return line coming back from the rails?
I don't know. And that's why I'm getting rid of it. And I'll tell you what we're gonna do. One thing I'm gonna mention before I even explain this. This freaking kit came with a T fitting instead of a Y fitting, and I'm upset about it. but we're gonna run it anyways. A Y fitting just more evenly distributes the fuel to each rail in a parallel setup, but the T fitting will do. Because according to Pascal's law, all fluids are equally distributed at an equal pressure in an enclosed space or something like that. I'm not a scientist, as you can tell. I just like cars to go fast. So we're gonna use it.
But first, before we get into all of the fuel system stuff, we're gonna get the oil changed in this thing so I can get this undercover back on the car and we can get this thing back on the ground so I am not on my tippy toes working in this freaking engine bay trying to build fuel lines. Oh. Ooh, that's a good stream. This 550 is thick. Don't make a mess, don't make a mess. Hey, it's catching both. Tight. Tight. Snipe. I was about to set this car back on the ground,
But then I forgot about something. We gotta do the trans fluid cocktail. Because this thing has been grinding some gears. When we get above 5,000 RPM, this car grinds 4th gear and 5th gear. Never grinds 1st, 2nd, 3rd, or 6th. Always 4th and 5th, because those are the 2 gears that I'm shifting into the most, I'd say, with all the highway driving I do. So, let's get this fluid drained out.
and I got this transfer pump here to pump the new fluid in. So right now inside of the transmission, it currently has Motul 7590 in it, and we're gonna be switching to 3 jugs of the Redline lightweight shockproof and then 1 bottle of 7590.
And you're not gonna have results with this trans fluid cocktail right away, but if you guys keep watching the videos as I drive this car, I'll keep giving updates. Probably not gonna help the grinding until you drive about 2,000 to 3,000 kilometers on that fluid.
So let's just time lapse through this because it's always a process setting up this fluid transfer pump, getting all the fluid drained, getting all the new stuff in. Then we can get it back on the ground, fill it with oil, and get started on our fuel lines. I mean, there's always going to be a little bit of metal shavings that come out of a transmission, but define a little bit. I don't know if that's a little bit or a lot. Let's just pretend like those never existed. I can't even get them all off of there. There's so many.
This is exactly why I hate changing gear oil on the ground instead of on a hoist. I don't even know why I'm smiling right now.
Because I don't even know what a Smurf just jizzed all over the bottom of the Subaru. Oh, now we got a mess to clean up. I think it just makes it funny because this stuff is blue. But the drain and fill plugs are all torqued, so that's a positive. We just need to waste a lot of brake cleaning all this up. Oh, it's so thick. There's blue shit everywhere. Okay, that's better. No more Smurfs down here.
One eternity later.
I lost the rest of the footage for this video. If you guys caught the last video of me ripping on the Subaru for the first time in like 6 months before I went on my Europe trip, you would have seen that there was a bunch of in-car clips. I used the GoPro. I ended up putting the wrong SD card in my GoPro when I went out that night, formatted it. And when I formatted it, it deleted everything on the SD card. And I put the SD card that had this video on it in the GoPro. So the entire process of me building the AN lines and getting the car started for the first time on the fuel lines and doing the first drive with it, the whole shakedown, gone. Just completely gone. Like, what, awesome. So I'm not gonna make this video any longer than it already is. I just want to tell you guys I'm back. I had an awesome trip. I was gone for like 2.5 weeks, and then I took like a good 2-week break when I got back. I had a lot of stuff going on. I'm looking for a house right now and trying to buy a house, and it's a big whirlwind of things going on in my life right now, so I haven't been able to make videos. But for all of you guys asking about the Civic videos, they are coming. But we do have a couple Subaru videos we gotta do first.
I swear to God, the boosted Civic videos are coming. It's still sitting in the exact same spot that I left it in, but we have a lot more parts. This thing is gonna haul dick, and I'm so excited. But moving on to the Subaru over here, I wanna show you guys what I did with these AN lines because I am actually so happy with how this came out. The setup is clean. The car actually runs better with these fuel lines in it. And I kinda like the black braided look contrasting with the red sleeving on my AOS lines, better than having the red sleeving on the fuel lines too. So let's break this down real quick on exactly everything I did. It is the perfect parallel setup. So starting up at the top here by the driver's side strut tower, I did have to bend my lines a little bit to make them work, but we are still using the factory hard lines. So this black hard line here is gonna be your feed line. Then I have a Cobb little quick connect adapter fitting because it has threads for a little gauge on it. So I put my radium fuel pressure gauge up top there. That way, right here, I can read fuel pressure coming directly from the pump in the engine bay just for diagnosing problems. Then, before, our fuel system used to come right into the regulator there. Now, I actually put a 5/16 quick connect to 6AN fitting on there. That quick connect to 6AN fitting attaches to this 90-degree 6AN fitting, goes to a 6AN line, which I built. We literally custom built and cut to length all of these AN lines in this video.
In the footage I filmed before, I literally showed you guys how to cut the AN line, how to install the fittings, how to make sure they're lubed up so they slide in nice and they don't leak, how to measure how long you want to make them, all that good stuff, and it's gone. Which sucks, but we still got to build AN lines on the Civic, so I will do a how to build AN lines video when we build that car.
So anyways, back to this. Just to make this whole setup that I have here somewhat secure so it's not bouncing and smoking the strut tower. I don't know if you guys can see it, but there is a little P-clip down there that I have bolted to the strut tower. And that P-clip is holding the AN line nice and tight to the strut tower so it doesn't move around, it's nice and secure. Then that line is coming directly from the firewall down under the fuel pressure regulator. You guys can see it running back right there under the ETS logo there. And then the next spot we have it P-clipped is right down here to the engine block. And this is where you guys aren't going to be able to see anything. That line goes to that 6AN T-fitting that I was just showing you guys. So I have a 90-degree fitting there, straight line, which curves and goes to a straight 6AN fitting. That straight 6AN fitting attaches to our 3T 6AN fitting. Then I have another straight 6AN fitting going in one side, another straight 6AN fitting going in the other side. Then both of those lines go out to each individual fuel rail, which again, it's going to be tough to see in behind the turbo, but you guys can see the fuel line right there coming into the fuel rail. Each line comes in the back of the fuel rail and they're nice and tucked. You can kind of see the 3T fitting down there, but it's a little bit hard to see. You can only really see the one connection. But like I said, they both come into the back of the fuel rail and then they come out of the front of the fuel rail. This is on the driver's side of the car. It's got a 8 ORB to 6AN fitting on the fuel rail itself. Then a 90-degree 6AN fitting. The line goes down underneath the intake manifold. Super, super clean routing there. I'm super happy with how that came out. Comes back around the backside and feeds into another 90-degree 6AN fitting that goes into the fuel pressure regulator. And there you guys can see a nice little shot of how they're all routed up to the fuel pressure regulator underneath that intercooler pipe there. Then the one from the front of the rail on this side, again, comes out next to the TGV housings, routes underneath the intercooler pipe, underneath the intake manifold, along the backside back there, and up into the fuel pressure regulator. And then on those fittings, I also have my fuel pressure sensor sitting on the return line before it gets to the regulator. And that fuel pressure sensor is the one that reads on my access port inside of the car. So I'm gonna pop up a little picture here of the routing on how I routed the fuel lines on this car. This is just an IHG diagram, but that is basically spot on how I built this. And then I have another straight 6AN fitting coming off the regulator to the 5/16 quick connect, which goes to the gray return line and back to the fuel tank. Then I just bent that blue evap purge line down, so it just vents to atmosphere right under the return and feed line right there. And that's the whole fuel system. That's all the footage that I lost. I'm super happy with how it came out. It's clean, it's functional, and the car doesn't have that stupid little idle stumble that it used to have with the dead end caps on the rails.
I wasn't even gonna post this video initially because I was pissed that I lost all that footage. I spent like $260 on recovery software to try and get the footage back. Did get any of it back, got some of my money back. But then I decided I'm just gonna post it, give you guys a little update, and let you know that I'm back. So we got a couple more videos on the Subaru, and then we're getting into the Civic stuff. Peace out, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you soon.